Yeah, welcome to Academy of Tone 315. Today is a very special episode about amp maintenance. We build amps and they are being used, and sometimes you have to know what to do if something might get not normal. In this episode I have a special guest, Dave Barlow from the UK, who became the UK service center for BluGuitar. And we have a long interview with all his experience, which is so cool because he is not only a brilliant technician, but he's also a brilliant guitar player. So he is a guy that plays the amp, that knows how things should be on stage, in the studio and wherever, but he also fixes gear. And he became our service center in the UK because of the videos he has done even before we knew him. So that's a very, very natural connection that we could do. And by the way, we are in a transition in the UK from our former distributor JHS to going direct with a few new dealers, and unfortunately it always takes a bit longer. So our new web shop with UK direct sales will be open soon, in a couple of weeks, maybe 4, maybe 6 or so. But we do have a service tech already in place. Yeah. Before we dive into that, there's another historic event that I want to mention, which was actually yesterday, which was the 111th birthday of Les Paul, the man behind this guitar without a sock. And if you haven't seen it, please check out the Academy of Tone 264. That's the Academy of Tone I have done last year on his 110th birthday. This guy, or this man, is a legend because he was not only the inventor of that guitar and solid body guitars and little things here and there. He also was an inventor of studio technology like multi-track recording and a killer guitar player. So if you don't know the story of Les Paul, you should check out Academy of Tone 264. I played the Les Paul on this episode, so of course. So everybody knows me, the Strat guy, but I love Les Pauls, and I love the man who came up with the whole thing. Yeah. In this episode, I have another special guest, Harry. Harry is coming straight from the office. He is, come on, Harry. Here. Harry is our repair guy in the company, and while we are talking about things, we have a little side project. He will change live on camera an Iridium edition from a standard faceplate, which is black, into one of our translucent faceplates. And these faceplates we don't get from our manufacturer. We get them from the manufacturer, but we don't get the units ready. So we have to hand kind of build or change this to make this special edition, which is actually behind of me here, lighting up. I hope the cable is long enough, probably not. So this is how it looks like. It's a different style. I mean, it's a see-through panel, and I think it's a piece of art.
Yes,
I
it
could
is.
put this on the wall, put a frame around it, and call this art. Yeah, and yeah, but yeah, and then start a lawsuit versus all the other amp manufacturers, because this is an amp and yours probably not, or whatever. Anyway, so can you show us the iridium as it
Yes,
is?
of course.
Yeah. So, ta-da. Um, So this is how it looks normal, and this is how it looks when we have changed the plate. Matter of taste. I like them all. I like the black. It's so simple. It's how much more black can it be? Spinal Tap. The answer is none. I mean, you could only if you kind of take a black pen and then, you know, cover the white color and make it all black, but then you don't know nothing about it anymore. So I think this is as black as it can be and still being nice and functional. So, and yeah, here we have a chat. Yeah, maybe Harry simply can start doing that, and I will talk a little bit about the problems that
Okay.
will end up on his workbench when we have faulty amps, and then maybe in between we can chat a little bit about things that happen. And you know, while Harry is kind of disassembling the whole thing, you can also see how many parts there are involved. It's quite a thing. Fuck, I forgot something upstairs because I took the switches
Ah, yes, the dirty ones.
and the dirty ones. Do you have a minute to explain what you're doing? And then I go upstairs and grab. Ah, by the way, like and subscribe to the channel. I'm. Harry gives you a quick explanation of what's going on.
Oh.
I'm trapped by a cable, and
Okay.
I'll be right back with my.
As a very short introduction, what I want to do is I have to disassemble the unit. That means there are two parts. It's a part above and a part under, and there are the knobs that have to be disassembled. And after that, we reach the front plate, and then we can change the front plate and assemble it again. And here's Thomas again.
Yeah, I'm back. So, let me explain what we can see when amps are being used. First of all, I want to explain that the way the Amp1 is designed, it is a modern design that is super sturdy and by design very reliable. We can tell that also by the numbers, and of course we have increased the quality and thereby also the reliability over the years. And now, since Amp1 is out for a couple of years, I would bet a lot of money on how long such an amp will last when it's being used, even heavily. And there's a few examples for that. The first thing is maybe it is not as heavy as a regular tube amp, because if you have one of those big boys here, we are talking about almost 20 kilograms. And just having that kind of mass, when you have it in the car and you have a brake or anything, there is a lot of force pulling and pushing the transformers and things like that. And the next thing is also we have the tubes. And when we are looking at the tubes, okay, see, this is the back panel of this amp. I don't know, maybe we can see this here. I take off one of those caps, brilliant, and those tubes are put into the amp with sockets. So one tube has like two systems, like two triads. And this means all these contacts with the tubes that needs to be exchanged occasionally have to be in perfect shape to have perfect contact. Any of these contacts can have like oxidation, and they could be a problem. It's a potential thing. The first thing about our nanotube, I should have a nanotube somewhere here, or maybe there. Do you stay here? Beep, 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 beep. Well, not at this point. We will see later. The nanotube is first a very small tube. And as we can see through from the other side, it's directly soldered to the PCB. So there is no socket. There is all the pins of the tube are directly connected to the PCB, soldered, and this will last forever because that joint there will be no corrosion, you know. The other thing is this tube is super reliable by design. It is designed to be mechanically stressed. So that's one difference in our nanotube design versus the classic tube designs. And as you can see also on this one here, the big power amp tubes, they also are a little bit more sensitive because they heat up. And when they heat up, like the materials change, they expand a little bit or they shrink a little bit. And all that is kind of a mechanical stress to the tubes. I know that some of the tubes in my vintage amps, they last forever because they are already 50 years old and they are great. But I think good tubes are harder and harder to find. So that's one thing you have to know. And these amps are easy to service. I think everybody who is a standard technician could service a tube amp. Our amps are a little bit more special, but let me explain what and how we handle repairs. Okay, besides the tubes, we have the obvious stuff that we also have on Amp1 sockets. And if you look, it's the same sockets. We use actually probably the same supplier as Marshall. And we have potentiometers. But now let me explain what is different on our potentiometers. Yeah. Foot switches. We have our special foot switch design as well. And just by design, they are very, very long living. If you see on Harry's PCB, this is called the PCB printed circuit board, there are these micro switches and they have a very low noise click. And these micro switches we can find in the computer mouse, and they are designed to make millions of operation. And you know, they are simply there's no wear and tear, and also the contacts are very good. If you have an older computer mouse, maybe it's still working. But if you know some of the old effect units with the big old switches, you know, you have some contact issues. And trust me, I have enough of these pedals here, so I can tell you that story. And this micro switch that you could see on the PCB is actually mechanically activated with this thing here, which is what we see in the housing. Okay, so this is the outside as you know it, and inside this is the other side, and they are actually just clicked in. I can simply click them in here. And what happens when I push the button or the switch from the outside here, this inner part here, which is these two little black dots, maybe you can see, maybe you can't, I don't know, Lucas, it's okay. They are moving, and these put that kind of latch down, and this thing here. So they go on top of that. Maybe we can show like this. So the black things go and push this down here. Okay? That's the mechanics. So all your pressure that you put with your foot is going to this switch into this aluminum like chassis, and an Amp1 has these rubber feet, and by design these feet can be compressed. And if you are standing on the switch with your 100 kilograms and the 100 kilograms are on the aluminum, those rubber feet will be pushed, and then the 100 kilograms are on this side of the aluminum chassis. So this actually survives somebody standing on this side. So it's super sturdy by design. Okay, there's one thing that we have seen in service, which is a dirty switch. And the dirty switch can come when you play whatever, an outdoor gig with, let's say, at the beach or at the children's playground, and a lot of dirt gets into the switch, and sometimes you can see it's kind of it could. But this is a really dirty one. The other one is a bit cleaner. The other one. Okay, so this can happen that the switch gets dirty. What you can actually do is, you can lift these switches, but you should have something like a piece of paper. I usually do it with my kitchen knife. Let me do it. So this is even better. So one of those Karteikarten in German. So we put it here, and then you have a knife which is actually not sharp, so you don't hurt yourself. And I put this so I don't scratch the surface. Can you see it? Okay. And then I take off the switch. And you can look at the switch, and you don't have to open the unit. So there's no electrical shock. And even if you would succeed and get in there, there is no high voltage. There is nothing. It's not dangerous. And very easy to put back in. So once you have taken out one of those switches, and in case you have some heavy dirt, you have two options. Either you call us and ask for a new, fresh one. We send it in a padded envelope. You click it in there and you have a brand new one. But you can also clean it yourself. So this is now the little lesson here. If you look at the switch, this black plastic part on the hole, I can put this like inwards, and maybe on my knee. Can you see that, Lucas? Okay. So see, so I have a standard flat screwdriver. So I click here. I do the same thing on the other side. See? And now I have the inner part. Watch, because there's a spring inside. So I put it this way. Then I lift the lower part, which is the translucent, clear thing. And inside here, in the hole in the middle, there is the spring. Little spring. Okay, don't lose the spring. And then you have the two parts. You can put them in the dishwasher, or you put them wherever under the Wasserhahn, tap water, and then have a little whatever napkin or toilet paper, get the moisture out just in case. So you dry it up again, and the dirt is gone, and then you put the whole thing back together again, put the spring into the hole in the middle, keep it like that. So this comes from the top, and then you simply press it and click, done. This, whatever it was before, this is like a brand new switch again.
Easy.
Easy, no? Once you understand how it works, it's an easy fix that you actually can do yourself. And yeah, that's one thing. The other thing that I noticed, we are ready to take off the plate, but
Yeah.
the side, that's the tricky part. Yeah, with the side control. But okay, that's the plate. Another thing we have done by design is when we look at the potentiometers, these potentiometers have many pins because they are actually stereo potentiometers, even though stereo is not needed for electronic reasons. But two reasons why we do it. First is, imagine there would be a problem on one side of the potentiometer, the other side would still be working. So the amp would probably sound a little bit different, but it would still be functional. And the other thing is, look at the mono. The mono is not as wide. And because the circle that the taper is going through on a smaller potentiometer is more narrow. So the whole feeling in the sound curve is different. So this is wider. This is like, I have more nuances that I can dial in. And the small is like, almost, it is more sensitive. And therefore it's more reliable, and it's kind of more evenly spread out. And you can feel it. I like it.
And the kind of redundancy.
Yeah.
Because we have two of this.
Two pots in one.
Yeah.
And therefore, just in case something happens, what always can happen, because it's an electrical component and nothing is forever. Yeah, but if something happens, this has the second potentiometer in the same with the same shaft. So that's making the whole thing more reliable.
Now I can see the tube
Yeah.
and the soldering.
Yeah, this is the nanotube, and the soldering is actually from underneath, but it is go through the PCB. And the way this is designed is called SMD, which means Surface Mount Devices. So all these little guys here, resistors, whatever, capacitors, diodes, and LEDs, light emitting diodes, and even here our chips, they are in the factory. They come and they are glued on the surface, and then with this wave soldering process, every part is soldered at the same time. So the wave of solder connects all the joints. And as we can see, look at this, this is like perfect soldering. If you do this by hand, it is not as good as the machine can do it. I mean, he's doing it a lot, so he can try to, but you know, this is the best manufacturing process for such a technology. So, you know, it wouldn't be any better if you do it by hand. It would be actually, the humans make more faults than the machines that place them here.
Yeah,
and the
right.
consistent temperature that you get, and then you make a batch of PCBs, and it's all under perfect conditions. So therefore, I know there is usually not a problem. The next thing also is the PCB is connected with the sockets on the rear of the housing, but there is no screws on the front, which means when the temperature changes, and just in case if the PCB expands a little bit, there's room, there's never tension. And that's good, because mechanical tension puts stress on the components and the soldering joints, and therefore it's designed to be free to expand. It's not a problem. It's, you know, so we know all of that, and we try our best to use that knowledge for reliability.
It can press.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing here. Okay,
Maybe the custom controls?
the custom controls, yeah, yeah. So we can see that is the side thing, and here we have those little custom controls. We have our little CC turners, the custom control extra knobs in case you don't want to fiddle with your fingers. I still like that, but some people like that as well. Okay, and as we can see, these have very, very small shafts. And as we have so many here, we have to use the small footprint of the potentiometers or trimmers. These are called trimmers. And on the boost, we can actually see there's two next to each other. So all the other functions have only one trimmer, and the boost has two, because the boost is a two-stage boost. You increase the volume on the first stage to drive the second stage of the boost into slight kind of saturation, while the second trimmer kind of reduces the volume, the output volume, a little bit, so it's just getting more boost, but not crazy too much boost. And therefore, this boost custom control always is a little harder to turn, because you are turning two at the same time. So that's all natural. And sometimes these
Axis.
axes, they can have two things. They can block a little bit. Then if you have something lubricant, you can spray from the outside, so that makes it a little bit easier to turn. But you shouldn't twiddle around too much with that, and you shouldn't expect this to be the knob that you always dial. But on the very first production units, we had tried to improve those knobs with the shafts, and we started to use carbon fiber for making them stronger. And what happened is our manufacturer didn't use the right temperatures, so actually sometimes of the early things, these started to break. And then you can replace those and everything is fine, because the trimmers are still totally functional and totally good. So that's one mistake that we had at the very beginning. Now it's all solved. And these, again, are just mechanic components, no electrical problem here. One more thing, there's these switches for the effects loop and the noise gate, but as you can see that they are very well protected because the shaft is very short and only a little tiny bit kind of sticks out. So sometimes, but very, very rarely, somebody can break that. I have so many standard foot pedals with problems with this kind of switches because my foot was getting there and destroying the switch, but here is not the case. And by the way, this is the switch for the effects loop level, and it's a push-push switch. And this switch we usually access with a 1/4-inch cable. Sorry, like you can have it here, and you see there's your 1/4-inch.
Careful with the screws.
Yeah. I don't want to lose the screws, but we can see, no? So, and this is coming from this side, and the tip will simply switch. Will do the switching. So, from my side, we know there's so many Amp1s out there on stages in every kind of like country, every kind of climate, in from Australia to maybe Siberia, I don't know where, but South America, North America, Canada, so they have winter, and so I know that amps are being used everywhere. And of course, when you have an amp and there is like moisture, it's every room, every climate has some moisture. And the moisture, just imagine you play a hot club in summer, people are sweating, and you're in tropical climate. Okay. And then let's make it even worse. You play in Finland, and the club has tropical climate inside because it is like a public pool with a swimming pool and a bar and a sauna and 200 Swedish blondes. So that makes everybody sweat, and you play there, and it's nice and warm, and then you pack up your gear and you put it back in your car where it's super cold, and that's the moment where all the humidity will be sitting on your gear. So the first thing we are doing is we have our own carry bag for the BluGuitar Amp1, which is one of those that comes with the amp. So, of course, I'm using this for all my power supplies and other things. But when you have your Amp1, you put it back into this, and then it's padded, and it's kind of protected, first against scratching and second against moisture. So once you put this back into the black carrying bag, you do a good thing to your gear. And then still there will be some moisture, and the moisture gets everywhere. The moisture gets on your guitar, the moisture gets on your sockets, the moisture gets even inside the potentiometers. These are sealed potentiometers, so there's not so much moisture getting in there, but still, after years, there can be moisture there. And then you might face a contact problem. And there are a few knobs that you are using all the time. Maybe the gain is your favorite one, or the master. I don't know what is the knob that you are using the most. And by turning the knobs, the potentiometer kind of cleans itself a bit. But if you haven't used your custom controls for 5 years, and if you experience some kind of maybe volume drop or tonal change, simply go and turn them up and down and up and down and up and down. I recommend like 10 to 15 times. You know, just move the knobs and move the potentiometers, or so in case there would be some like corrosion or things, you can get contact again. That's the thing that usually does help once you have such a thing. Another thing that I also noticed is the sockets. So you plug in the guitar socket, that's usually the one that you use the most, so that's always kind of self-cleaned by inserting. But maybe you haven't used the effects loop for a while, or it was sitting on your pedal board. And by the way, this is a thing that is not with BluGuitar, this is with any guitar amp, with any gear. This is the nature of sockets. I'm not saying they're all dying, no, but in case something happens, this is what you can double check. And the easiest thing you can do is simply use all the sockets like 10 times and then go to the next one and the next one and the next one, you know, things like that, to get fresh, the contacts moving. For the Amp1, I always would also recommend the effects level switch here. I can do it with a screwdriver, or even better, use that.
Dein Mic.
My mic? I lost my mic. Oh, my mic.
Take one moment.
Ah, no battery. Wait a minute, where is... Do you know which way it goes inside? So. And then. Hello? Okay. Okay, we are talking contact. I'm back on planet Earth again. Let me stick it on the belt. So, signal, fine, okay. So, I was disconnected. So, we use the 1/4 inch, and you can hear. That's the sound of the switch. And there are the two settings, the high and the low setting. If you don't know where you have been, you can feel it, because when you stick it in and it clicks and it's further in, it is on the high setting, and when I push it again and then it's a little bit further out, it's on the low setting. So another thing, when you just want to clean it, have an even number, because then it's on, off, on, off, on, off, and then it's in the same position. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But I would recommend do something like 8, 10. 4 is, you know, it's better to have a few more. Okay. So if you have that contact kind of cleaned as well, and all these knobs and all the sockets, and then of course these knobs, but I assume that mostly these knobs are being used a lot, so it's probably not coming from there. And by the way, this is the same you can do with any tube amp. I have played some very old, what was it, PV blues tube amp when I had a surprise moment, and trust me, I had to know. I felt like, what is it, ice hockey, playing, like the puck or whatever it's called. I had to do this to every potty to get contact again.
That's normal,
Yeah, because that amp was sitting in some rehearsal room for ages. So, and after I have done this, I had some contacts area, then I could play the gig, which was a funny thing. And this is not to blame PV or us or anybody. This is the nature of things.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's a mechanical thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even the best quality potentiometers can get such an issue. It depends on the circumstances, on the environment, on the humidity, on the climate, on whatever dust and whatnot. And it is something that can happen. And therefore, I always recommend to have a spare amp. And an Amp1 is so small, you should buy a second one. So you are always sorted, no problem. And even if you don't use it, if you're a gigging musician, it's such a relieving, how to say, you know if there's a problem, you have a backup. I mean, usually you go on a gig and have a spare guitar, and you can throw one of these in your car just in case, and there's no worries anymore. So that's the thing that I believe you should do when you have some issues first. And of course, if there's anything that you cannot fix, or if there's anything you are not sure about, you should contact us or our service center guys, like in the UK and in other countries. Yeah, and this is Harry just put on this see-through panel, we can see, and all the potentiometers kind of hold the panel. Yeah.
And this panel holds the panel from the
the side. Yeah. There's like a handshake joint here. So it's design. We spend a lot of time on mechanical design as well, which is part of why things take so long. Also on AmpX. And AmpX, you know it best because I haven't seen you repairing Amp1s lately because we have no faulties, right?
Yes.
There's nothing, no Amp1s.
Yes.
This is why he
true,
has changed a few iridiums to the see-through, and we have a few pre-production models from AmpX, and there we have a few issues here and there and double-checking things. And Harry has only had AmpX prototypes, so to speak.
Yeah, for the beta testers and
Yeah.
yeah.
So this was, and no Amp1s, and I'm talking about thousands of Amp1 out there, and so I know that our failure rate is very, very low.
And most of the time there are small issues, not big things that needs a long time to search or something like that.
Yeah. And for people somewhere, when there is a complicated problem, we also offer to switch to complete PCB. That makes it possible to get your amp fixed rather fast. And then we have the time and look at some things maybe later. I mean, if time is an issue, you
Yeah.
know, but we are so experienced by now that if there's a faulty, we know it inside out what it is, and those very, very, very strange cases of amps. I always say there's nothing that es gibt nichts, was es nicht gibt. There's nothing that doesn't exist. Means there's always an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
And there are some things where I think, I don't even know what. We never had that mistake.
We had one with salt water inside, and
Yeah.
a lot of salt on the board, on the PCB board. And,
Yeah, somebody was swimming with this Amp1. Yeah. So there's anything can happen, and therefore we have seen a lot of different cases. But as we know the amp so well for over all the years, we know exactly what to do. So, yeah, let's have a look at the chat. I haven't seen anything. Okay, Sveni Gallus, I know some names. Wolfgang Singh, hi. Yeah, Wolfgang was here. His album is now upstairs. Yeah, because ich habe aufgeräumt in German. I cleaned up the place a little bit. So, I spent a week inside my amp replacing tubes and caps and linear power regulators due to a bridge rectifier failure. Yeah, that can happen on amps if there's a. How to explain? Sometimes one incident forces another one, and there can be like a chain reaction. It can be tricky, but I haven't seen such things on the Amp1 so far. There's, of course, we know when the power amp is broken, for instance, we usually change a few components.
Yeah.
Just to make sure the whole thing is like new. I mean, it's like on your car. If you put in, what is it called, Zahnriemen,
Yeah.
the belt in the motor. Usually, once you open that, you exchange two other components because it's more expensive to open the whole unit.
Yeah.
And it's better to service the complete section, and then you are totally safe. And it's not that the components are super expensive. The labor and the time is probably more work.
And on very old revisions,
Yeah.
we had found some modifications
Yeah.
that we can make also older versions more
Reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, I mean, it's constantly experience and learning. Okay, more in the chat. If I buy an Amp X, do we get an X sheet t-shirt like the one shirt? We do have X t-shirts. I have to think about that. It's a logistic problem because the world has so many different sizes. He is S, I'm M, the next guy is L, then is XL, double XL, and in the worst case, you can order from our online store, and because you know your size, that makes the whole thing easy. But yeah, you can wear an X shirt when you. There are options. Okay, when I have to do a major repair, like I do sometimes sneak a fuse in there, so if it happens again, I can just fix the thing and the fuse. Okay, there is a fuse in Amp1, but that fuse literally is not a problem because that's just like the emergency fuse that protects the whole thing from, like, if before it would burn.
Yeah.
So In Amp1, I would say if there's no sound, it should have a repair. And if it has an issue, by the way, it's 90% the customer. Because I know exactly, last week I played this gig and I have this and that. And then you know, I have people on the phone say, hey guys, have you tried to use the effects loop with a different cable? Oh no, it works. It's a classic. But I'm not saying that we don't have any issues with Amp1. There are sometimes issues, but from my statistics or our statistics, people have problems. And best thing, just a story, Alex Beirut, killer guitar player, and Alex plays 2 of the Iridiums. And he says, Thomas, we had sound check, everything was so cool. Now we had dinner and I come back and everything is broken. The 2 amps don't work anymore. I said, Alex, wait a minute. 1 can be broken, but 2 at the same time, no. That is, I've never had that. I mean, unless you, I don't know what you're doing. And, you know, so panic, rockstar panic. I call Thomas. It's not a problem. I'm easy with that. But it's like, Alex, I bet on it. Nothing is broken. If 2 should break at the same time, you have a 6 in the lottery. You have won the lottery. that doesn't exist. So better check all the cables and things. And then he found out, well, the power was not plugged in on some super stupid mistakes. And honestly, this happens to everybody. I'm not blaming you for that. It also happens to me. But it's like, don't panic. Just calm down, have a beer or whatever comes, helps you. Sit back, relax, and go through the steps. And the first thing you should do is isolate the problem, which means you start in circles. You put the amp into power, you put a speaker on and a guitar in, nothing else. So first thing is, does it power up? Yes. So next thing is, do we get signal here and there? If yes, it's working and the problem was somewhere else. If you don't get the signal here, you can still put your guitar into the effects return. So there's a send return and you can still hear the guitar signal. I can try to demonstrate. So here's my guitar. And then I can go to effect return here. Power amp is working. You know, here is effect return. So this is a test that you can already do without anything. And in case that wouldn't work, then you can be sure it must come after the effect return, which means it could be the power amp section or it could be your speaker. And me, I had an issue with the speaker myself and I had no sound, and it was a corroded socket on my cabinet. And I thought, everything looks good, and I just was twiddling with the cable a little bit and I was good to go. Things can happen like that. And so once you know that the amp is making noise, then you bring in your pedals before. And trust me, you always think, I can have my tuner in the loop in front of it and I can have my delay because it always works. Exactly that is the problem. You have to do it from 0 to 1 to 2 to 1 more, step by step. If you skip one step, it will not work. You are not finding the issues. But this is experience. So stay cool, do one after another. If you have a full block, try it. But if there's a problem, you have to get everything that is in the block again. I mean, if the full block works, like you have several pedals in the effects loop, and if it will work, then it could be the pedals in front of it. But if there's any problem when you plug out those cables here, you have to go through every individual effect pedal and every individual cable between every individual
Yes, of
effect.
course,
Yeah, and this is why we have such a calm guy who is always relaxed. And, okay, we have a problem, but that's a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah. And by the way, this is now the finished version of the translucent edition, and this is what we do to every unit. So this is somebody taking it apart and putting it back together again. And if you want one of those, you can order it from our online store. I think only for the European people, because look at our store. Anyway, so that's the translucent edition. Let's see if we have more questions here. Oh, that's too complicated. Music performance source. Okay. I thought of keep people from having to squat on stage with their guitar and fiddle with chords on their models, etc. But I never thought about being useful for harsh environments. Yeah, okay. Certain gear is more critical than others, but okay. Now I can play those underwater gigs I've been turning down. Yeah. Don't let your amp where you wouldn't like it to be yourself. Espen Pittman Groove Tube book. That's a good point. Espen Pittman, who passed away, I think it was in a car accident actually, but it's already 10 years ago or so. He had groove tube amps and the tubes, and he was a very knowledgeable man. So wise words. And by the way, if you have this kind of contact spray, it is something like isopropanol, or what is it?
Yeah, kind of.
Alcohol,
Yes.
pure. It needs to be pure alcohol.
Yeah, pure.
Don't use whiskey to clean your amp. Use that industrial pure stuff, and this can be used on, actually also on plugs. Something like that helps, and then you can plug it in here. There's several brands that do that stuff, and this is like the expensive boutique stuff, Dioxide 5, different options here. Okay, chat. Somebody says you can also take part in our pedalboard of the week challenge, which means you have to send us the picture of your pedalboard and we choose the best ones. And the winner gets a free t-shirt. You just have to send a picture. We send probably a t-shirt. That's another way how to get a t-shirt. Svengalu's timing belt always replaces the water pump. Yeah, that was the automotive analogy. Troubleshooting for fun and profit. Well, profit, I just know sometimes troubleshooting needs to be done, and it's better to have a calm attitude, because emotion does not help.
No.
I mean, if you are a guitar player, emotion does help when you are playing. But when you become a technician, or if you are troubleshooting, emotion does not help.
No.
So we should have our internal switches from cool to hot, you know, stage mode and bypass. Yeah, by the way, Harry is also playing some drums and guitar, but mainly drums, right?
Yes, mainly drums.
Yeah. So at soundcheck, a gig years ago, my Marshall was okay, but 5 minutes before the gig, it didn't work. Luckily, it was just the indicator light. Oof. Yeah, that's.
Can happen, yeah.
I have a Marshall in the office that the indicator light is broken too, or is it? No, it's here.
Yeah.
No, this one works. Sorry,
okay.
but this one is broken. Yeah, and the you know, these vintage Marshalls, they have real Glühbirnchen,
Yeah.
lamps.
Small lamps, yeah.
Yeah, and now the replacement parts, they have LEDs. That's why I didn't change it yet. But they can die. Okay, greetings from Wallerfang. Yes. Here, I have seen Annika Nilles footage with Rush. That's, by the way, a big thing that Rush, the Canadian supergroup, plays with Annika Nilles from Germany.
Wow.
Yeah, and Annika is, I never played with her, but I have a lot of friends that know her as a drummer. And now I think we have to wait till I have Annika in my band, Rock Anarchy. I was, a couple of years ago, I was nearly trying to contact her for playing with us, but now she's busy, and I'm very happy because, first of all, she's brilliant. Brilliant drummer, and she played with Jeff Beck, and so, yeah. She's in the circle of like Moritz Müller. It's another German drummer that I like a lot. If you are international, check out Moritz Müller. You like Annika, but check out Moritz. You like him too. Yeah. Yeah, Annika rules. And this is kind of an interesting topic. If you join such a legacy band, there's tons of pressure on you. I mean, it's like, and then what's his name? Neil Peart, the original drummer of Rush.
Yeah.
It's like he was special, and they had iconic drum breaks. You know, Tom Sawyer. I mean, it's like the song itself is like nothing. It's like. So, anyway, the drums in that band are as important as the lead vocals on some parts. And if you have to replace such a huge iconic drummer that invented that thing, that's some pressure. Just imagine you lose your stick, and then you get a heart attack, and this is the end of your career. But no, she's cool. She knows how to handle. I think she knows how to handle the pressure. So, yeah, I'm proud of the German. Now comes a long and very nice interview with Dave Barlow. Dave, is, as I said at the beginning, he became our UK service center, but there's more to the whole thing, more to it, because he has, he has that repair shop, and he has done a couple of videos on Amp1, and this is how I got to know, oh, there is a guy that seems to play Amp1 himself, that has a repair center, and I watched a few of the videos, and I thought, okay. And one of the videos that actually was making me call him is like the video where he said like the little secret or the big secret that nobody tells you about Amp1. I thought, okay, let's check it out, what he found out, which I don't know. And he said, it doesn't break. I just play so many gigs with it and it's still alive. And yeah, that's good news for us. But it's like, okay, this guy is motivated. We sent him the faulty amps. Now he can learn that this life isn't that easy. But he seems to be fine and well. He's now getting all the repairs from all over the UK and the rest of the UK, empire. So, I wish that you enjoy my interview with Dave Barlow. And we also talked, it's a long interview, we also talked about guitar setups and experience on so many things. So enjoy that. And if you have any other problems with BluGuitar gear, our email is service@bluguitar.com. And of course we have other departments, which is sales, but today was the maintenance episode, and if you have a problem on that side, you contact service, and now you know who's going to repair your amp. It's Harry. Okay, thanks. Enjoy the interview with Dave Barlow. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dave Barlow. He is. There's actually a nice story about the whole thing, how we got together. He is a guitar player from the UK that offers his services as an amp repair center, as a guitar setup, and he has done a couple of videos on the Amp1, and that was catching my attention in a way that I thought, this guy is a real professional musician who knows the guitar player side and the technician side. And it was a no-brainer to contact you when we were looking for a service technician. So you actually have done videos about BluGuitar before even anybody else in the UK. And I was so happy to see that you really nailed some topics like custom controls. You know, there are some little issues here and there, but the way you approach the whole thing is like, okay, if there's a problem, we try to solve it. So I'm all positive connected to this thing. But hey, maybe we should start with you as the guitar player, because that's always, for me, quite interesting. What are you doing with your band? When are you gigging? And let the people know.
Okay, so as far as that is, because that is, sorry about that, I'm just going to get rid of that before we carry on. Okay. So guitar player. Obviously, I've been a guitar player since I was 15 years old, which is a long time ago. So let's not just go there just yet. I probably, like most people, starting off in your bedroom, learning stuff, listening to records. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have none of that then. So everything you had to do yourself. So as far as guitar is concerned, I like to start around about for this video, if I may. I like to start around 2015.
Okay.
Because that was the point, I think, where I started to be the most busiest as a guitar player. So it took me a while to get to that point, because you learn the guitar, you do a band, then you get married, and that takes a back seat, you have to work, that kind of thing. So I'm not kind of like a superstar rock professional that plays big stages. I'm just your average kind of pubs, clubs, maybe the odd I do some festivals and stuff. Obviously it's got bigger of late, but that's the kind of guy I was. So 2015 is like probably a good place to start, I think, because that was where my my BluGuitar Amp1 journey started as well. Because I tried loads of other amps, and I'll be honest with you, I was quite happy with the big amps, the big Marshalls, maybe the big Black Stars and all that, because I liked that sound that the bigger amps gave me. And obviously moving to the Amp1, let's get this out of the way. Moving to the Amp1, you go from this big to teeny weeny this big, and you think there's a big jump for a guitar player. That is a big jump. It's a big leap of faith. And but the thing is, the little Amp1 has that big amp sound, so you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, but guitarist wise, right now, what's happening now is that I'm playing probably every Friday and every Saturday. I think I'm doing about 95 to 100 gigs a year.
Wow.
As a guitar player.
Yeah.
That's a lot of gigs, and and that gives you a bit of an understanding how the gear holds up, how your equipment's going to hold up, your guitars, your strings, your leads, your amplifiers, your speakers, the van that you carry it in, even, everything. You get a really good idea about how that works. And obviously my band is called Ransom. Let's do the name drop now. We play it all over the place. We're all over the place. We're in Scotland, I think, in a couple of weeks. And we've been on the same stages as Skid Row, Girls' School, Wolfsbane, some other names that let's not do a big name drop, but like loads of good names, big names. We're not the biggest band by a long shot. We're not the best band by a long shot, but we just get picked up.
Yeah, you're a hard-working musician, and you are still doing it in a way. And I think it's kind of living a dream, or I mean, for me, it's therapy. I do have my amplifier company kind of during the week, and I'm the weekend warrior going on stage, and it's like, I enjoy it so much still, I'm not into the heavy touring anymore like I used to be in my whenever 20s. But, having a gig on the weekend, for me, it's like anything that was in my head before the gig is gone afterwards. It's like, a nice little emotional reset, and that keeps me actually in fresh, good shape mentally. If I wouldn't be able to gig anymore, I probably need a psychologist or something like that. But it's so much fun. And as you, I'm while playing. Of course, I have the other side that always my brain goes like, yeah, that's cool. That sound was good. Or, maybe there's something missing. And, on that other level, I can kind of make experiences that I take back when I do R&D on the next product, where I think, it would be cool to have a touch more gain here, or what about this? And for me, it all makes sense. And your kind of package, doing the whole thing, made total sense to me. When I thought, we need a service guy, it's so good if there's somebody that is not just a pure technician, that's when you can check and feel the amp, and okay, that thing is totally fine, or here we do have a problem. And
there's a fine line though, Thomas, because obviously because you're similar to me, the same as me, whereas like you know the technical side, and also the musical side. You're on both sides, which is great for you and it's great for me. with our own gear. Problem is, sometimes you'll get you'll get a guitarist coming in with a problem, and you'll go, oh, yeah, it's that. And they're not ready for that answer. You know, you have to do it in such a way, you have to explain yourself in such a way that works for them. You know, that's the thing. That's the one big thing about what I do here, is that just because I know the answer to the problem, it doesn't mean I can just go, boom, there you go. I have to sort of, you know, it's difficult. Everyone's different, aren't they? Every musician's different. Every guitarist is different. You know, sure. It's like you know, I'll go and see a couple of bands and I know the guy. I fixed his amp. The first thing on my mind is, oh, I hope the amp doesn't break down. You know, that's the first thing on your mind. But then you go, oh, you had the conversation with him, and he's saying, oh, I've bought this amp because I want to sound like this and I want to do like that, and he's playing, and you're going, well, you don't sound any of them things, but you sound great, but you don't sound like any of those things. It's just it's kind of weird. So when you're playing and I'm playing, we're thinking, oh, damn it, I shouldn't have put them pickups in. Oh, why did I put these pickups in there? They're doing my head in. Or, you know, you know, you all these little things happen as well. Like, you know, when you're in a room, you know, so you just bend down, you just a bit more mid-range because you know, you know these things. And yeah, that happens all the time. And sometimes, you know, your mind wanders while you're playing. I've done it a few times, you know, and I'm playing away. You just wander a little bit because you're thinking, I don't know, mechanically, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but you're thinking, oh, this should be like this, or I'm going to change this, or this. It's like I don't know. We can go down a rabbit hole here, can't we?
Yeah. But I can. Well, I learned to live with both sides in handling myself, and I know when not to overthink things. But the good thing is I can experience my work, you know, and it's, if I can solve a problem or if I can enhance something, a sound that I'm after, it's so satisfying, you know, when you can really taste it and play it yourself, and you go, this is what I always wanted, you know, that little thing here, that sparkle here, or that, you know, more beef here. And it's, for me, it's fulfilling. The combination is fulfilling. So I know it is a thing that I have to balance with myself, but the overall thing here is fulfilling. On the other hand, I know how it is for you to treat customers, because I have a similar kind of issue when, for me, certain things are totally clear. I can hear people, for instance, playing any amp or even an Amp1. Let's talk about Amp1 because I know it very good. And I listen to the guys. Sometimes I think, okay, this guy, he knows everything. I don't have to tell him anything, you know, because for what he does, he found the sweet spot, everything. But sometimes I see people and think, man, I wish you should just a hair less treble, a little bit more mids, that's your sound, you know, and they go and try out my settings, which work actually for me, but it's also how I hit the strings. And for them, it's like almost, you know, and me, I'm so sensitive to this kind of sound things. I sometimes it almost makes me jump on stage when I hear somebody else play and, you know, dial in something slightly. I'm not doing this very often. I was asked to do this actually once in the US at a NAMM show, because they, you know, I was there as Mr. BluGuitar, and if anybody had something on stage, I was just jumping and doing the one jump and the one turn and then disappear again. And even if they would play a different amp, a Boss Katana or something, it's like, hey, guy, why don't you hear that you should have a little bit more of this, you know? That's my thoughts. And then it's like, okay, you know, I'm waiting there, and then I go, zack, 1 second, and I'm gone. And then afterwards, I go, okay, yeah, now it makes sense. But that's something not everybody is so... how to say, experienced and builds a connection to the tone as we do. And especially we have that electronic level again, so we understand even what's happening when you dial in a certain control, which an ordinary player, it's just give me more gain, less gain, more of this, and that's their vocabulary. But I think we know that things are intertwined and that they connected with each other. So if you have more of that, you actually have less of that at the same time. And if you want to be there, you better try it from this side. But that's our experience, I guess.
Yeah, totally. So, obviously where we was talking about the 2015. I've used that Amp1 since pretty much 2015. I had the Mercury and the I've had both versions of it. I've tried the Iridium, but and I think that's really good too. But I've got my sound and I've pretty much stuck with it.
You are the Mercury kind of guy, I think.
Yeah, and like obviously talking about guitarist sound, it's quite good because I've seen a lot of there's a lot of I've got to get this right. There's a lot of amps that do a lot of things, and sound like a lot of other amps. Let's just do that. Let's say that on the market. But most of the guys that come in here, generally, they kind of choose their sound, and that's their sound. They don't deviate much from it, and they might want to improve it here and there, or add or take something away from it. But generally, I always find that they if they can dial in their sound, they're reasonably happy. So. Because obviously before I became an Amp1 tech for the UK, I had this Amp1 and people were seeing me play. So and obviously I'm not the greatest guitar player in the world, but they go, oh yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah. And a lot of guys actually bought one off the back of that. So I got quite a few guys that I know that are on the circuit, playing doing the same as what I do. I've got these Amp1. I've got one in now actually, but and I could literally name them on my. I know the guys, and they're all using them on a weekly basis, which is great to see. But the great thing is when they come in and you look at their set, because they leave their settings, they're all radically different. It's amazing to see, and it's fantastic to see. But again, like I just said, generally that's their sound. That's what they've dialed in. That's what they like, and that's kind of where it's at. And it's pretty amazing, really, to see that working that way. I'm the same. I dial mine in. I know where I want it. I know where it's at. Job done. I've got a really good story for you. You'll love this. Had one of the guys come in with one of these, right?
Yeah.
And he said to me, he said, Dave, do you want to buy it? And I go, what are you selling it? He goes, yeah. He said, He said, I just want something different. I went, okay, fair enough. I mean, the things. I said, what do you mean different? He goes, well, I just want a little different amp. I said, hang on a minute. So I fiddled around with the controls a little bit, plugged it in, because I know he's running 75s, Celestias, plugged it into the greenback. My greenback speaker's over there.
Yeah.
Plugged it in. Right, play that. Different amp. Like, wow, it's a different amp. I go, there you go. I just saved you a couple of grand.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. But it's a great story, and we always chuckle about that. And he said, I've changed it a few times. He said, but to be honest with you, I've just gone back to how I had it.
Yeah.
Do you know when you buy that amp, right? And you buy this amp, you go, oh yeah, it's so great. And you buy it and it's amazing. You use it for a few years. And if for some reason you sell it because you get, I don't know, bored with it or something, and a couple of years down the line, you're thinking, what did I sell it for? It's brilliant. Yeah. Anyway.
We all have done these mistakes. And I think that's one of my things with people is what are the best settings for them. And some people... the flexibility and the range of sounds you can get from an Amp1 is pretty large. And I totally get it. If you only need one sound, then you just find it there, leave it there, and be happy. Some people always have that bad conscience of, I have 4 channels, I need to play them all. No, just because you have 4 doesn't mean you have to use them all the time. I mean, the greatest guitar players on this planet, they play one channel amps or, like nothing, Blackmore and AC/DC and you name it. But some people think more options are more. I always tend to go, do you really need it? Less is more. And on the other hand, of course, I want to offer the variety of sounds, and then it is every single sound needs that attention to make until you own it. And it's so funny because some people go and love whatever the modern channel, and the next guy goes, oh, this is overcompressed. And then, but two people, two opinions, and two emotions on that same thing. And therefore, I'm just happy to have a few options here. And one of the challenges that I sometimes do is when I have like friends that are doing touring and fly gigs. I had that a couple of times. Like I played that whatever Marshall GVM 410 with all the options, but it's so heavy. Can we do it? And I said, okay, you give me the amp. I have my A/B switching system. What sounds do you really need? 4 different sounds. That's all we can get. If that wouldn't be enough, one little pedal could help too. But so far, it's amazing. I could find a solution for every guy coming in here for his whatever sounds he had. And it's like I even learn by doing that because I don't know what kind of settings they're using, what they want. I would never dial in the amp like that. But if they play, if I have a reference, that's a real challenge for me. Yeah. But anyway, that's the whole sound side. And for the other side, you are doing like a repair business and guitar setups. Of course, you have the experience as a player, and I think that's super important when you do like guitar setups. There's a lot of people that don't know how to set up a truss rod, and they go like, I have a dead spot here, I have a dead spot there, and oh, my guitar sucks. And then if you understand, and one easy thing is for me, if the neck is straight, then we are starting to talk about the rest. But if the neck isn't straight, it's like, yeah, forget all the rest. It's my experience. So that's the first thing. And how long does it take for me to do? 5 minutes, 2 minutes, depending on the guitar, if I really need to take off the neck and adjust it and put it back in. But I found some dirty tricks to do it with strats, like, leave the strings on, have a capo, like, where's the strat? Like, have a capo here on the first thing, put it on the bed or on the stool, ying, 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 go with the machine, knock out, twist, put back in, under tension, no problem.
Yeah, that's basically how we do a quick tweak. I mean, that's not how I would do it, but that's for a quick tweak. I would do that. That's exactly what I do. Definitely. But I can let's talk about let's just start on that one because necks straight, relief, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, every guitarist is different. So if we start with rock guitarists, because they're in a majority, I would say in my customer base. So a rock guitarist, they want a low action. They want to just do all this, and they think that the low action is the way to go, which it is for some guitar players. It is. I have one guy that his action is so low that his guitar has to be adjusted seasonally.
So critical, yeah.
You know what I mean. So that's how low it is. But and then you get some guys going, okay, because they're a little bit more seasoned, and they go, right, I want a low action, but I don't want this string buzz. Yeah. So you get the guitar and you play it, and you can actually hear what I call string rattle. And I have to explain that string rattle is completely different to fret buzz. Mm-hmm. So if you have low action, you're going to hear the strings rattle. you're going to hear the strings rattle. But when you plug it in, pickups don't hear that. They just hear, unlike an acoustic guitar, when someone comes in an acoustic guitar, Dave, you did my electric guitar for me, it was fantastic. Can you get the acoustic guitar strings that low as well? No, can't be done, because it would just sound awful. Yeah. So there's some simple stuff like that, which some people get mixed, they get mistaken on stuff like that. So when it comes to straightening someone's neck, adjusting someone's neck, I always say that you need a new set of strings. Mm-hmm. Because when you adjust the neck, you're also adjusting the distance between the nut and the saddle. All right. Yeah. And if that guitar's been played a little while, the strings have got little dents in them, right?
Yeah.
And for frets. Okay, old strings always go out of tune because they got these little dents in, and when you push it on the fret, they want to go left or right. And it's the same thing when you adjust the neck. It's exactly the same thing. So it's got to be a fresh set of strings at least when you adjust the neck. In my shop, anyway. Yeah. So that's kind of one thing to remember. So if someone says, "Oh yeah, you need a new set of strings," well, I'll put some on 2 weeks ago. No, if you had them on a couple of days, even if they've been on a day, I always say no, new set of strings. You don't have to buy my strings, you can bring your own, but I think it's really important. Strings are really important. I have people come in and go, I said, "When did you change your strings last?" I go, about a year ago.
Yeah.
And obviously they're like coated strings, so they don't look oxidated or anything like that. They look good, but when you look underneath, the
mechanics of the strings is already damaged in a way. When you take off the old strings, you can see how, when you unpack a fresh string, it's like, okay, totally straight. And if you take off one of the old strings, it's like waves and dicks and dangs and whatnot. And of course that is all hindering the vibration, so that it is a strange thing for tone. So fresh strings, more control, absolutely.
With guitars, the thing about guitars is that I think the most important. So we've just ascertained this. The most important thing is a good fresh set of strings. I mean, if you want to, especially if you're learning how to play the guitar, and obviously the right sort of gauge for you as well. So I mean, obviously we can go in minute detail to all these different things that I do, but I think we'd probably be here for a couple of days if we did that. But generally, with your guitar, this is my little testy guitar that I use in the workshop, because my stage guitars are all packed away in a case, which we'll come to, I'm sure. And this just gets left out, and I pick it up and play it when I need to test stuff out. But basically, this is no different. I look after this guitar the same way as I would do a customer's guitar. It's got the necks the way it should be. We're still talking about necks. I had a guy come in, really interesting, and he was doing a song where he had to do some bending down in first position on pentatonics on a G, and he couldn't get under the string because his action was too low. This is one of the guys that a rock guitar player. And I said, no, you're going to have to put a bit more relief in the neck. He goes, yeah, but if I do that, it's going to be harder to play. I said, well, it's kind of like, you can't have both. If you want to get under that string, you got to do that. I think it's Paul Gilbert. Is the guy. He said, someone said to him, how do you know, if your guitar set up? He goes, well, I'll just do this G thing, and if I can do that, it's good to go. Very interesting. Very interesting. So it's not me.
So I think on that end, of course we can go in many details, but I think on the electronics of guitars we have another topic or enemy, which means your pot starts scratching, your switch makes noise. Your socket gets loose, and all that kind of things that happen over Well, over time and
very easy, right? Let's just get this done. Let's get it done. This is switch cleaner, or I think the popular thing in the marketplace. I don't use it because because I use a lot. So I use something that's more wholesale and less, but I think Deoxit or something like that they call it.
I have this. This is like the boutique high end.
The boutique one. I use the Super 10, which is from Germany, and basically it's very, very simple. There's your switch or your three-way switch. Just squirt some in there.
Yeah.
Just do that. Just squirt some in. I have guitars come to me where they don't work. And squirt, job done. It's fixed. Take off the back, squirt in the pots, and then in the input jack, just give it a squirt. Without getting too technical, that's all you have to do. So every guitarist should have, their contact cleaner or lying around, because obviously you can use it on your amplifier potentiometers as well. But that's it.
Yeah. And here's the point. That's something that is natural, that it happens to amps, to guitars and amps, because it's like kind of, there is humidity in the air, there is corrosion, and even if you have high quality kind of contacts, after a certain amount of years, something happens. I have hi-fi gear, high-end stuff from whatever the 70s, and even there the switches start to make some noise. It is something that is kind of the thing that we have to apply a little maintenance to it, just like a car. Just like changing strings on a guitar, your electrical contacts need a little bit of attention once in a while. I mean, especially then when the problem is there. And I have been there myself too. I have been on the stage. I plugged in, my Amp1 and my fat cap and with my BluGuitar cable, it's like all good stuff. And I had no sound. It's like, no sound at all. Fuck, it's broken. But no, this amp is not broken. And then I did move the cable in the socket of the cabinet. Bam! Then there was my sound. Yeah, the socket was corroded. Yeah. And this was the difference of, I couldn't play any gig and everything was fine again. And it was just like, I didn't have even the cleaner there. I was just, turning the cable a couple of times back and forth and done,
Oxidation is like that. Is one day it's here, the next day it's not. One day it's not, one day it's here. It's oxidation will just catch you out. So oxidate. The biggest one that I see for oxidation we're talking about is obviously with valve amps or tube amps, whichever you want to call them. They get hot, and that draws moisture to them. And that moisture sits on the amplifier. You switch it off, you bung it in a boot of your car, you drive home, and that just basically starts to oxidate. Or if you want to call it rust, it's not, but it's oxidation. It's where the connections going bad, and the surface of the surface connections are a little bit dirty. And basically, so next time, every time that happens, it happens again. So more oxidation, layers and layers and layers, and then to the point where it doesn't work anymore. So that happens with amplifiers, and also dirt, grime, condensation stuff gets in pots as well. So you got an amplifier here. You could probably just see in there, the back of the pots. You can give them a squirt as well. With your, just to clean them up. So that's oxidation, and it will attack everything you got, your guitars, your amplifiers, everything. And here, it's a good segment here to let people know how they can actually reduce that problem. And it's very, very simple. Put a cover on your amp as soon as you're done with it. Put your guitar in a case as soon as you're done with it. Obviously, give it a wipe down. But them cases is going to save you a lot of aggro. Now, take it from me, we are a band that plays 95 gigs a year, maybe 100 gigs a year. Stuff goes in and out of that van every weekend. Everything in that van is in a case. Mm-hmm. Every lead gets put away in a cable tidy in a case. Everything gets put away that way, and so over a period of a year, we don't have any issues.
Yeah.
Most of that gear I got, we're still running 10 years later. That's 10 years old, a lot of that gear in there, because you're packing it away and it's all getting protected. You'll be amazed at what that does. And when you talk to like Rock Solid, the cover people like that, and they'll go on for pages and pages about the benefits of it, and you think, yeah, I just want to sell me something. No, it's actually real. It's actually making a big difference to the longevity of your equipment. It's case in point.
Yeah,
you already know.
Yeah. And this is why I decided to have such a little thing coming with the Amp1. The alternative would be a simple, stupid plastic bag, but nobody would use that, because it's kind of that throwaway item. And having a nice little hand carry bag for it. First, it protects the amp because it's a little bit padded. And then, what can hurt a potentiometer is like some force coming from the side, But if it's inside a cover, there is no way to get to the side. It can only go from top, and the potentiometer is like more durable when there would be a force from there. So, little things like that help the Amp1 to be protected, like that a little bag that we have, and
but the bag is going to protect it from the outside air.
Yeah.
So like, if you was in, say you was in a club and you was playing a gig and it gets hot, it gets sweaty. Look at the windows; they're all steamed up, right? That is sitting on your amp. You need to protect your amp from that. And when you're done with it, put it in a bag, and that stops that from going. That stops a lot of that problem, especially if it's going in the boot of a cold car or something like that. You think, oh, it's not going to do a heck of a lot, but it does. It makes a big difference. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, and anything helps. There's another thing. When I was designing Amp1, I was thinking about, the good old tube amps. They have the 12AX7 or ECC 83s and preamp tubes, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And then the 4 power amp tubes, and every tube has a socket. And all those sockets have contacts. And all those contacts can have corrosion, but it's more, there are more points that are not soldered. And that's why I decided to make really the sub-miniature tube, the nanotube, soldered to the PCB. So there is a real proper connection that usually lasts, And I don't know how many tubes you had to replace on an Amp1 in the UK. We had like next to zero. I don't know if you have. None. Have you ever had a tube failure?
No. The things with tubes, right, is that obviously the origin of the Amp1 tube. I don't know the details of that. Obviously, you do. But valves or tubes, as some people call them, are I can get a 63 kind of Vox in. It's still got the original valves in it, and they work fine. They're good. Yeah. And the valves that we have today are not as good quality. Not because the manufacturers are deliberately making them that way. It's just because the materials, I think, that we used to use back in maybe 50s, early 60s was a lot better than the materials that are available today, believe it or not. I mean, that's where I got that's the information I got. And but as far as I'm aware, the little tube in the Amp1, I don't have any problems. I mean, I've run mine how many hours? I mean, I've done a lot of hours. I mean, if you look at my Amp1, I mean, it looks like it's been through a war zone. I mean, that's without the case. I mean, obviously, pubs, clubs and stuff like that, you'd be amazed at how much you know, it's like it's been in like, I don't know, like a hailstorm or something. I don't know, but you know, so it's got to be, there's got to be, you know, it's got to be a good tube as far as I'm concerned, because I haven't had any bad ones. So I'm just assuming you've obviously picked the right one. You know, maybe it's not working as hard as some other tubes do. You know, the L80,
Well, that's
L84s
also,
or something like that. You know,
and it's auto biased. So even if the tube degrades a little bit, the circuitry kind of puts it back into the sweet spot, and therefore the tube is one of those least critical components, which most people think it's not, because they usually think, oh, it's a tube, so if there's a problem, it must be the tube. That's the typical reaction. But most of the time, it's corrosion. It's that contact issue. I mean, you know, and some easy fix for people, I tell them, when was the last time you were using those side controls here? Because, you know, some Amp1s are 10 years old by now and have been sitting somewhere. And even though the inside trimmers are sealed, but if they haven't been moved at all for whatever, how many years, you can actually turn them, and sometimes, oops, it's fine again, you know. And so my do-it-yourself kind of thing is like, if there's anything weird, like volume drops or anything, is like, move everything on the amp, like the controls, the side controls, everything that you, especially the stuff that you don't use that much. I mean, on a regular basis, just to make sure that the contact comes back, and that helps.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and that's absolutely true. I mean, I can't stress enough, because we've just been talking about, you know, putting things in boxes. Oxidation is probably your biggest enemy, or you know, even these little side controls that you're talking about. I did a video a few years ago now, about those side controls. I was probably the first one to do it, and I, you know, so if you feel you need to do them, you can check my video, and it shows you step by step how to do it. If you want to do it yourself, that's fine. If not, bring it to me or to whoever is your local guy that does that kind of thing. But you know, that's your biggest enemy, I think. Above all else, I mean, you can't help when something mechanically goes wrong, or you drop the thing, or a valve goes south. You know, you can't help stuff like that. But oxidation, you can do a lot to stop that from happening with your guitar and with your amplifier. That's it's the biggest problem we probably have coming in this little workshop. Yeah. Going back to the volume controls, what happens is you know, a customer will come in, and they will and they'll go, oh look, you know, the sound keeps cutting out, because that's where that control's been sitting for the last 20 years. It's just been sitting there, you know. And you're right, sometimes you move it around, and it can solve the problem, and sometimes you might have to put a bit of cleaner in it. At the worst case scenario, you have to replace the pot, because the carbon tracking's come away, or there's a notch in it or something like that, which more likely happens in guitars rather than amplifiers, to be honest with you, because you know, they get bashed. You can bash a potentiometer, and it will just take, you know, or damage the tracking. But that's the biggest problem. Yeah.
So from my side, I think I try to make a design that is sturdy and as reliable, but of course, nothing is perfect, and it's simply not perfect to build a non-destructible item. I mean, even though we actually have improved a little bit over the years, as we learned. You know, it's like change supplier, because we learned they have a better quality here. And, you know, for me, it's not about anything on Amp1. It's not about saving money so that I make more money or any bullshit like that. No, I want to make an amp that makes the guitar player happy with the size and the weight and the volume and the sound and the universal power, and solving issues, not creating issues. And I'm personally getting really upset if there's anything that my manufacturer tried to cheat me. I had to change manufacturing because they tried to tell me that I should care about my guitar playing, and they do the building things. And I said, hey guys, no, if there is a problem, we take it serious, and it is the moment. The earlier, the better. This is what I'm after, and not money, making more money and saving a few cents or whatever on a component. That's total nonsense in the overall big picture.
Yes. In contrast to that, in contrast to that, obviously we get all sorts of amps coming in here. So a lot of the newer amps as well from some of the maybe bigger manufacturers than BluGuitar, let's say that, and you can see, and I don't want to diss anybody, because there's a reason for it, the reason why they do it, but that some of these amps aren't really designed to go to last, above a certain time, and and they know that, and it's not because they're doing it deliberately. It's just that they're thinking that, well, we want to sell them the next best thing, and we want to, and all that kind of stuff, and I get all that, but so, and I found with the Amp1, and I'm not bigging you up. I'm just telling you what my gut and my brain says is that this amplifier is probably built like a tank. It probably doesn't. You've gone over and above the Call of Duty to make the amp, literally bulletproof. I mean, it is literally bulletproof. I've never had an amp as long as I've had this amp.
Okay.
I mean, I look after my gear. Don't get me wrong. I don't just sling it in the back of a van.
Yeah.
I look after my gear. But there's two things I think that's really, really important about what you've done. The first thing is that I've had this. I can't remember how many hours I've done. I don't do it by length of time. I do it by how many hours I've used it, which is important. And actually, that is the longest I've ever had an amp. Not because it hasn't broken, it's because I'm happy with what it does. Yeah. And I think them two things that you've managed to accomplish, I think is big pat on the back time. I mean, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your backside. I'm just saying that I haven't seen anything come through my workshop that does that. Mm-hmm. Apart from maybe some of the old school stuff, some of the old school amps.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen as a repair guy. And when you're repairing stuff, I know modern amps are a little bit more technical. It's a little bit more. Sometimes it's a case of changing PCBs over rather than pulling out a few caps here and there. That's just the way of the world. Because we have to make things affordable. I mean, you can imagine if your amp was built with just components. It would be, I don't know, it would just be a warehouse full of amplifiers, wouldn't it? It would be mental. So, but, that's my point, is that, there's lots of amps that come through here. I don't want to repeat myself. I've seen some fantastic amps come through here. And I've seen some amps come through here that look lovely and sound just blooming awful. But,
but that's the world.
My biggest gripe, I mean, while we're on the subject, my biggest gripe is certain boutique amps from a certain country is my biggest gripe, because the thing is with them is you'll get one and it sounds amazing, and you'll get another one and you think, well, I don't know what the fuss is about, and that's as far as I'm going to go with that, because I don't like being negative, but I want people to know that I get to see it all here. I see it all, not just your gear. I see
sure.
gear as well, and you get to look under the hood, and you get to see, what's going on, and then you'll be amazed at some of the fantastic stuff that's actually still being built, which is unbelievable. I think I got one sitting here, but and then there's some other stuff that you get, which I'm looking at now and I hate, but that you just think, why did you bother? But my rant's over. Sorry about that. I ranted, but
I know exactly. I know what you're talking. By the way, when I bought my car, I went to my repair guy and asked him which model should I buy? And he told me, you buy that model which is already like 10 years old.
Yeah.
I don't see them that often, you know? So he could give me the right advice. And this fits my lifestyle, you know? I don't need to have the latest thing with the whatever features and stuff like that. I want something reliable that has a feel. And if it's, it's a classic thing, and this is my mindset that I also use when I design Amp1. When I, people thought I was be crazy to create my own knobs. Like, why do you invest whatever 80,000 euros into housing? You know, you could have a standard metal bending machine, but no, I went for aluminum die cast, and they thought, this guy is crazy. He will sell a few hundreds, and then you have, every amp should cost whatever 5,000 just because to recover the cost of the tooling and things. And I said, no, this thing is designed to be in production for at least a decade. Let's make it 2, and if it makes 3, why not? But this is my. And then, when you think about that kind of lifespan of a product, and you think, okay, shall I buy the standard knobs then? If I think about 20 years or so, then I can do my little own design, even if they are not so different. But it's like, these are mine, Yeah. And yeah.
I must say that if you can hear like a hissing noise, it's not an amp. That's the rain coming down on the top of my workshop. It's pretty horrific at the moment. We are in England, so it does rain a lot here, and it's really kicking it down. Just so you know that this is a purpose-built workshop. I mean, you can obviously behind me, this is bench 1. We got another bench further down there, which we do the guitars on. So we keep the guitars and the amp kind of benches separate. But there is a little bit of crossover sometimes. That's me being lazy. But this is like purpose-built kind of wood type of thing, and so you might hear rain and thunder and motorbikes going by and stuff like that.
Cool.
But like you say, it's the real deal.
It's the real deal, and this is why I really enjoy that you are doing something for BluGuitar, because I felt like this is. We share the same spirit, and I mean, if there's a problem, we try to fix it, and we take it and embrace it, and it's not like, you have to live, and you want other people to be happy. So of course you have a repair and you have to charge some money for it, but the mindset in general is not like, I want to make money first. No, I'm the real deal. I'm a musician. I want to be happy myself. I want to share that happiness with other people. I want to share my knowledge with other people. And, I have simply seen your video. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And if there would be anything, we also know, if you had a customer that has a super tricky problem, then you can talk to me and we can fix it in a way. There's...
It's important for people to realise that that me and you talking on this video here isn't just necessary for PR purposes. We have now a bonded, close kind of working relationship where I'm repairing your amps for you, and I need to be able to converse with you, maybe email or whatever, and then you can come back and sort of keep us in the loop. So people need to be rest assured that there isn't just some guy like with a screwdriver and a soldering iron just trying to fix your amps. This is like the real deal. We are actually working as a team, even though I'm over here in the UK, and to keep these whatever issues that come to us, can resolve them as a team, not just me. It's not just me sits here. I mean, it's on the front line, but it's both of us, right?
Yeah, and if you have a question, you can always contact us here, and we can share our experience, because we do, we have another angle to the whole thing. So Dave, this has been really great talking to you. If people want to approach you, they will find you as Dave Barlow on the internet, as a musician, but also the workshop and email. Do you have a website?
Yes.
So I guess
if you just type in Dave Barlow Guitar, or if you're in another country, you might have to put UK, but Dave Barlow Guitar, I'll come up. I just come up everywhere. And yeah, you'll see me. And if you want to, obviously, I got to give this a plug, because you said something at the beginning of the video, right, about you're a weekend warrior of rock.
Yeah.
Right. We've got a little album out which is called Weekend Warriors of Rock, and we stole your blue guitar color for the logo on it. So it just says Weekend Warriors of Rock. Go check that out. If you want to. See the musician side of me. It's original material, So see the musician side of me, and obviously checked out Thomas's work on his guitar. It's his blinding guitar work. Check us out, not just mechanically. Go and check us out musically.
Musically, it's part of the full picture, and I'm happy to be in this industry with people like you, and there's no other place that I would work. I don't want to work anywhere else. I'm happy in this industry, and I'm happy to meet lovely people like you. Hey, Dave.
I'm smiling all the time.
That is
playing.
There's something that we must do right, because we feel good, and that's good. Okay. Well, thanks so much. Check him out. Dave Barlow, and we catch up later.
Thank you, Thomas Blue.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Rock and roll.